Genghis Khan. When you hear that name, what comes to mind? Probably thundering hooves, huge armies, and just brutal conquest, right? He's definitely one of history's most notorious figures. But was he just a savage barbarian, or was there something more going on? Well, let's get right into it, because the story of the man who built the largest land empire in history is absolutely full of contradictions. We're going to explore that central paradox. Was Genghis Khan a monster or a visionary? So let's start with the image everyone knows. This quote, and it doesn't even matter if he actually said it, it perfectly sums up his terrifying reputation. It's this raw, unfiltered vision of total domination. This is the foundation of his legacy. And for millions of people, this wasn't just a quote. It was a horrifying reality. But here's the thing. Is that it? Is that quote the whole story? Was he really just a force of pure destruction? Well, as you can probably guess, the answer is a lot more complicated. And to really understand the man and the mind-boggling empire he built, we have to peel back the layers of that myth and look at the real person. And that story doesn't start with Genghis Khan the legend. It starts with a boy named Temujin. Yeah, before he was the great Khan, the ruler of a vast empire, he was an outcast, literally fighting for his life on the harsh Mongolian plains. And his early life, well, it's the key to understanding everything that came later. Just look at this timeline. It's like a list of the worst things that could possibly happen to a person. His father gets poisoned by a rival tribe. Then, his own clan just abandons him and his family, leaving them to starve. He gets captured, enslaved. Life threw everything it had at him. But here's the thing. It didn't break him. It forged him into this incredibly resilient, ruthless, and brilliant leader who was determined to end the constant warfare that had defined his entire life.
And this is where you start to see his genius. You have to understand, before Temujin, the Mongolian plateau was just a chaotic free-for-all of warring tribes who had been fighting each other for centuries. The idea of uniting them, it was considered literally impossible, and yet he did it. By 1206, he'd brought them all together and was named Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. He didn't just win a war, he created a nation from scratch.
Okay, so he's united the tribes. You'd think the story is just about conquering from here on out, right? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Because once Genghis Khan had power, he didn't just conquer, he organized. He started building a system of government with ideas that were, for his time, completely radical. Just look at this list. For the 13th century, this stuff is mind-blowing. He created a written legal code called the Yassa. He promoted his generals based on their skill and loyalty, not because they were born into the right family. That's a true meritocracy. He set up the Yam, which was like the Pony Express on steroids, an incredible communication network that connected his whole empire. And, get this, he practiced religious tolerance and protected trade because he knew that's how you build a stable, prosperous empire.
So why was this Yassa, this legal code, such a big deal? Well, you've got to remember, this was a nomadic culture, largely illiterate. A single written code of law that applied to everyone was absolutely revolutionary. It wasn't just about punishment. It was about creating order and a common standard of justice. It was basically the operating system for his new empire.
And the end result of all this organization was something historians now call the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace. I know, it sounds like a total oxymoron, right? But it's true. The most brutal conquests in history led to a century of incredible peace and stability. The Silk Road boomed. Ideas, technology, and goods flowed between East and West like never before. They used to say a woman could walk from one end of the empire to the other carrying a gold nugget on her head and be perfectly safe.
But, and this is a massive but, we cannot talk about the peace without looking at the absolutely horrific price that was paid for it. For all his innovations, the foundation of the Mongol Empire was built with a level of brutality that is truly hard to comprehend.
Let that number really sink in. 40 million. To put that in perspective, some estimates suggest the Mongol invasions killed so many people that they may have reduced the entire world's population by around 11%. That's not just war, that's a global demographic catastrophe.
And here's the chilling part. This wasn't random violence. It was a cold, calculated military strategy. The Mongol message was brutally simple. Surrender to us and you'll be spared. Resist and we will wipe you off the face of the earth. It was a policy of terror designed to break the will of their enemies before a fight even started, and it was devastatingly effective.
So how do we square this? How can one person be both the brilliant innovator who established laws and trade and the ruthless conqueror responsible for so much death? How do we make sense of a man who created the Mongol peace through such incredibly unpeaceful means? This is the core of his complex legacy. This really lays it all out, doesn't it? In one column, destruction, a death toll that's hard to fathom, terror as a state policy, entire cultures and libraries just gone. But in the other column, creation, the first real connection between Europe and Asia, a golden age for the Silk Road, a government run by the most talented people, and a massive exchange of ideas. He was both of these things at the exact same time.
Which brings us right back to our big question. Was he a villain, a nation builder? Or is it possible that the answer is just yes? Perhaps the real takeaway is that history isn't about finding simple heroes and villains. It's about trying to understand complex, hugely consequential people whose actions, for good and for bad, literally shape the world we live in today. So, what do you think?